Hey everyone, Teo here. This is the artist review of the Lenovo MediaTek Pro, which was launched in March 2025. First of all, disclaimer, this is not a review unit, so I had purchased this tablet for review purposes. So if you guys want to buy this tablet after watching the review, consider helping me out by making your purchases through the affiliate links that I have for you in the video description below. Okay, first thing you should know is this tablet actually goes by other names. In China, this is known as the Xiaoxin Pad Pro 12.7 2025. And I just found out a few hours ago that there is this other tablet called Moto Pad 60 Pro, which is using the same physical design. So you can see there is this camera and flash at the back, and there is this diagonal design on the back. And they are also using this pen here with one side button, and this pen is also gray in color. So this Lenovo tablet, let me just remove the back to let you see how it looks. There is one camera and one flash, and there is also the diagonal line design. So this Moto Pad 60 Pro is actually the same tablet as the Lenovo MediaTek Pro, which is also the same tablet as the Xiaoxin Pad Pro 12.7 2025. So these three tablets have the same hardware specifications, and the difference would be the ROM that the tablets are using. So for the Lenovo tablet, this is running on ZUI version 16 on top of Android 14, and this has official support for Google Play Store. For the Xiaoxin tablet, it's running on the China ROM, so I'm not sure if that has Google Play Store, probably not, and I'm not sure whether you can install Google Play Store later. And I have not tested the Moto Pad 60 Pro, so I can't tell you what ROM that tablet is running. I had purchased this tablet here in Singapore for 539 Singapore dollars, which is around 416 US dollars, and this includes the pen and the keyboard case as a bundle, so the pricing is very attractive. And let me just give you the bottom line. For the price you pay, you get really good hardware. So you get this 12.7-inch LCD, which is bright, beautiful, vibrant, sharp, and it's laminated, and it has 144 Hz refresh rate. So this is a really good display. The audio quality from the four-way speakers is awesome. It's much better than I expected. The speakers have good clarity and have good surround. And this tablet is running on ZUI version 16, which has many useful features. And the tablet is using the Dimensity, MediaTek Dimensity 8300, and has 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage. So overall performance is smooth and lag-free. And this tablet is great for taking notes, and do check out my other video where I talk about this tablet specifically for taking notes. Pen performance for drawing is quite good, but there are some issues. There is minimal diagonal line wobble or jitter, which is good. Initial activation force is quite low, so you can draw thin lines like this. But I find that this pen has a tendency to draw thicker lines more easily, like this. So for me, I have to reduce the brush size to something that is lower than what I usually use. This 12.7-inch display is big for drawing. It's really spacious, so you can have palettes on the left or right and still get a good amount of canvas space to work with, and palm rejection works really well, by the way. So here's a drawing which I will draw later, but let me show you first the line art, which looks okay, it looks alright. So I have no issues with diagonal line wobble and not much issues with pen pressure, but there are some issues unfortunately with tilt sensitivity. Depending on the app you use, tilt may perform randomly. For example, with this add concepts, if I try to draw letters A, B, C, you can see that sometimes tilt would activate like randomly. This is without tilt and this is with tilt. And if I draw or write while holding the pen at my usual angle, this can happen, and this is very annoying, and it's a deal breaker for people who use tilt brushes. Tilt brushes with infinite painter also works inconsistently, so sometimes when I tilt, you can see it doesn't work. If you want to use tilt brushes, you have to use apps where the tilt performance is more predictable. I do enjoy drawing on this tablet because the pen performance is good enough, except for the issue with tilt, which will sometimes cause extra broad strokes like this or some splotches like this, which can be nice sometimes, but sometimes it can be annoying. Battery life is quite good. I can get around 9 to 13 hours of use depending on brightness and also what I'm doing with the tablet. The pricing for this Lenovo tablet is extremely attractive, and because of that, this tablet provides insane value for money. For example, here in Singapore, this tablet together with pen and keyboard case is US $140 lower compared to the Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 FE with an 11-inch display. So with the Lenovo, you get a 12.7-inch display, and this is huge. The only thing that the Samsung tablet has over the Lenovo tablet is the Samsung S Pen has more predictable and consistent performance, and this is more accurate. So if you're looking for a general purpose tablet or a tablet for note taking or for casual drawing, this is one I can recommend very easily. This is probably the best value tablet in 2025, and I usually say that for Xiaomi tablets, but this time with the Lenovo tablet, wow, this provides insane value for money. Alright, on to the full review, which I already know is going to be quite long. So let's start by looking at the items included in the box. This is the back cover, keyboard cover, safety info, quick start guide, and the SIM ejector. And this is the Lenovo Tab Pen Plus. There is one replacement pen tip included. This is a 1.2 meter long USB-C to USB-C charging cable and a 45-watt charger with USB-C port. The Lenovo Tab Pen Plus is also available for sale separately for US $50. The build quality for this pen is quite decent. I like the matte textured surface. The design is cylindrical except for this flat side here, which can attach to some tablets magnetically. This pen, however, does not charge magnetically, and to charge this pen you have to use the USB-C port that's provided. And this pen does not have an eraser at the back. This pen comes with one side button, which is not customizable, at least with the drawing and note-taking apps that I have tested. The pen tip is firm and has no movement when in contact with the display, and this pen tip is replaceable. So you can unscrew this very easily and replace this, and pen tip replacements can be found quite easily on AliExpress, and they are not expensive. You can find 4 pen tips for less than $10 US. This pen supports tilt sensitivity and pressure sensitivity of slightly over 4096 levels, and there is palm rejection, which works really well. There are some issues with tilt sensitivity though, which I will talk more about later. Let's take a closer look at the keyboard case and back cover, and these two accessories are quite well made. For the back cover, the interior is matte textured plastic and the exterior is this PU-like leather material. There are cutouts for the camera bump and the pen holder. Let's put the tablet onto the back cover. So there are 4 hooks that will hook onto the tablet. So this back cover actually does not protect the sides of the tablet. It only protects the corners. This is how the back looks. So let's put the pen here, and this will snap magnetically to the back of the tablet. And you can deploy the kickstand like this, and this is the lowest angle. I don't think the kickstand is strong enough for you to rest your palm on the tablet for writing and drawing, and if you do this often, it's probably going to damage the kickstand. The keyboard case is quite well made. I like the PU texture, and this is matte textured on both the wrist rest area and also on the back. And the build quality seems to be, I'll say, good enough. It's not flimsy, even though everything is made with plastic. The touchpad is big, and you can only press the bottom area. You cannot press the top. The keys have good travel and feedback. So the typing experience is pretty good, and there is a row of useful function key shortcuts. So this is the connector to the tablet. This is not a Bluetooth keyboard, so it cannot be used away from the tablet like this. And there is no internal battery, so you have to connect the keyboard to the tablet in order to use the keyboard. And one downside to this keyboard is there is no backlight for the keys, but there are shortcuts for the display brightness. If you want to, you can actually set the tablet to go into PC or desktop mode when the keyboard is connected. And when you disconnect the tablet will go into tablet mode again. And the magnets are quite strong. So the keyboard together with the back cover is obviously going to make the tablet much thicker and heavier. One thing I don't quite like about this keyboard case is it glides quite easily against the glass of the display. So I wish there could be some bumper here at the corners to, prevent the keyboard from sliding like this. If there is some grid between the keyboard and display, I'm afraid that may cause scratches on the display. There is no way to prop up the keyboard unless you place something below. So the keyboard is always flat on the table. If you can get the keyboard case as a bundle, get it because it's a good keyboard case. I like it, except for this. Let's take a look at the design of this tablet, and it's a big tablet with a 12.7-inch LCD. The corners for the body and for the display are rounded off, and the bezels are quite thin. There is a landscape camera here which can be used for face unlock, but it's not the secure type. And the display is very glossy, very reflective because there is no anti-reflective coating. The weight of this tablet is 620 grams, and it's quite a thick tablet. This is 6.9 millimeter, which is thicker than most tablets that I have reviewed recently. But this is not exceedingly thick, which is alright. So this is the back, and there is the Lenovo logo. This is matte textured, and there are some diagonal parallel lines here at the top. The camera bump is not too thick, and this is a 13 megapixel camera. At the bottom you can find 2 speaker grills, and there are 2 more speaker grills on the other side, and the audio quality is fantastic. The audio is loud, it's clear, and there is good surround, so the audio quality is much better than I expected. The USB-C port supports charging up to 45 watts, and from what I can see with this speed test, the write speed is around 330 megabytes per second. And I have also tested this with an external display, and I could not get any video output. And this is the top side with the power button with a built-in fingerprint scanner, which works very fast and effectively. The speakers and the micro SD card slot. This tablet does not have a cellular model. And at the top there are the volume control buttons. And speaking of volume control, you can actually control the volume with the control panel. Not all Android tablets have this feature. Let's look at a size comparison. So on the left, I have the 10.9 or 11-inch Samsung Galaxy Tab S10 FE, and this is the 12.7-inch Lenovo Idea Tab Pro, and this is the 14.6-inch Samsung Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra. So the size difference between these tablets is quite noticeable. You can see the 12.7-inch is much larger than this 11-inch. And the 14.6-inch Samsung tablet is much larger than the 12.7-inch. And this tablet, the Lenovo tablet, is actually cheaper compared to this 11-inch tablet. Lenovo has provided good hardware with this tablet at this price point, and this price point undercuts the Samsung tablets quite noticeably. The resolution of this 12.7-inch IPS LCD is 2944 by 1840, so the aspect ratio is 16 by 10. And this is a very sharp display, so pixelation is not noticeable even when I look really close. The refresh rate is 144 Hz, so animation for pan, zoom, and rotate is really smooth. And this includes scrolling web pages as well. So this 144 Hz refresh rate really makes the tablet feel very responsive. This display supports auto brightness or adaptive brightness, and you can adapt the color of the display to the environment, so you can sense the environment, color temperature, and adjust the color temperature of the display accordingly. You can choose between vibrant or standard mode, and you can adjust the color temperature manually as well. Colors on this display look fantastic. The black looks black enough, but obviously it's not going to be as black compared to OLED black, because the contrast ratio for LCD displays is usually around 1 to 1000 or 1 to 2000, whereas for OLED displays it's 1 to 1 million. But as you can see, the visuals still look really good. A good LCD can still look great, and this is a great looking LCD. Viewing angles are pretty good. There is minimal color shift when viewing the display from extreme angles, and I just don't like how reflective this display is. So the maximum brightness of 400 nits is not going to be bright enough for use under direct sunlight, but if you're indoors, 400 nits is more than sufficient. So this is really good LCD quality. I don't think you will be disappointed with what you see here. Let's talk about the performance of this tablet. So this tablet is using the MediaTek Dimensity 8300 and has 8 gigs of RAM. This tablet feels responsive. There is definitely no issues with multitasking, so you can open many apps and switch between the apps almost instantly, and apps can launch really quickly, and you can load web pages very quickly as well. In fact, web pages load almost instantly. You can definitely play graphics intensive games, but not at the highest settings. So for example, with Genshin Impact, the default graphics settings is right now at medium, and this is 30 FPS. If you set graphics quality to high, it says that the tablet could overheat and frame rate could drop, but gameplay still looks and feels smooth to me. By the way, for gaming, you probably will want to use the kickstand because it's quite tiring to hold 620 grams of weight for extended period of time. Next, let's talk about OS and software. And the first thing I want to say is there is no bloatware installed, thankfully. So this tablet is running on ZUI version 16 on top of Android 14. And from what I have found out online, this tablet should get 2 OS updates and 4 years of security updates. And ZUI actually has many useful features. This tablet supports many finger gesture shortcuts, and there are many pen features. You can disable the pen software features if you want to, and if you look on the left side, there is this Google Entertainment Space, which I have disabled because I activate this way too often. And there is, of course, split screen multitasking. I can just tap on the display 2 times with 3 fingers and choose the apps that I want to open. And I can move the apps around. So let me have the browser on the left side. And since there is official support for Google Play Store, you will be able to find many capable drawing apps from the App Store. And if you are into note-taking, there are also many wonderful note-taking apps available. This tablet supports Wi-Fi L1, so you can stream videos from Netflix, Disney at 1080p resolution or higher. The OS supports multiple user accounts, and this tablet is compatible with Google Kids Space. There is PC mode, so you can have floating windows and you can move them around, you can maximize, minimize, but the PC mode features are quite lacking. And you cannot connect this to an external display to extend PC mode out. But for the Lenovo Legion Tab, you can actually output video and have PC mode on the external display. I will review the Lenovo Legion Tab Gen 3 soon. ZUI works well. I did not experience any major or even minor bugs. Time for the line test, and I'm using the app MediaTek Paint because this app does not provide any software correction to the lines. For this app, I can see some latency, so I can see the line chasing the pen tip as I draw this long sweeping line. And this app is Concepts, and you can see the latency is not that noticeable. How much latency there is will depend on which app you use, and even for the app MediaTek Paint, which has noticeable latency, I don't have any issues with drawing. So this is the diagonal line test and also the test for initial activation force. So that's how thick the brush really is. And now I'm drawing with minimal pressure. I'm trying to glance the pen on the surface of the display. And I can actually draw thin lines quite easily. But here you can see some line breaks, so you do have to press down ever so slightly to get the line. But overall, I would say the initial activation force is quite light. The thing here is I'm paying special attention to draw the lines with minimal pressure. Now, if I'm drawing as per normal with minimal pressure, the lines usually will come out thicker. I'll talk more about why this can be an issue later on. Next, let's look at how the lines taper, and I would say the lines are able to taper quite smoothly and sharply. So this is not too bad. So you can use this pen for cross-hatching. Now, to get the thinner lines, it would be easier for me to just reduce the brush size. So this pen actually has the tendency to draw thicker lines compared to thinner lines because the pressure curve is like this. So if I apply minimal pressure here and apply a bit, the thickness of the line will just increase dramatically compared to this, where if I increase the pressure, you can see the line or the line width or the output will still be thin. That's to say that if you are using an app where you cannot adjust the pressure sensitivity curve, there could be some issues. Line transition from thin to thick and back to thin. This is not too bad. And note that these are actually diagonal lines, and this is also a diagonal line. So I would say there is minimal diagonal line wobble. You can see some wobble or jitter, but it's not that noticeable. Let's see if we can maintain consistent line width by maintaining consistent pressure, and we can. Let's draw some dots. Let's have bigger dots. No problem here. And this is the cursor misalignment test, where I will draw separate lines and join the lines together to see if the lines will overshoot. And I will look at where the pen tip is and not where the cursor is to join the lines. By the way, the cursor can be hidden depending on the app you use. So I am able to join the lines without the lines overshooting. So here you can see an example of the line overshooting, but this is human error. And notice the line width for all these boxes, they are kind of thick, even though I'm still using the same brush as earlier. So this also tells me that this pen has a tendency to draw thicker than thinner lines. Let's test tilt sensitivity with this app sketchbook. So now I'm holding the pen vertically and drawing with minimal pressure. And now I'm drawing with heavy pressure. And now I tilt the pen, drawing with minimal pressure. And now tilt the pen and drawing with heavy pressure. So it seems like tilt works fine. So I can have thin to broad, to thin and to broad. And line transition from thin to thick looks okay, but there is actually an issue here which is not obvious. When I hold a pen at 45 degrees, which is normal for me, and I draw, the lines should not be this thick. The lines should actually look like this. So if I tilt ever so slightly, you can see the line, it becomes thick. So the problem here is tilt activates too easily. So if I have to draw thin lines, I have to hold the pen vertically. If I just tilt it slightly, like this, I get thick lines, which is what I do not want, and this is not the usual behavior for tilt brushes. With this app concepts, unfortunately, tilt does not work as well. So I'm holding the pen as how I would normally hold it. And when I draw with it or write with it, you can see that sometimes the tilt would activate. And this is, well, very annoying. Let me switch to a different tilt brush. So let's say I'm trying to draw an umbrella. So I'm going to draw the tip of the umbrella like this, and you can see when I try to draw the umbrella, just by holding the pen at my usual angle, I did not even tilt the pen down yet, and I can get all these random tilt strokes. And this I would say this pen is not very usable with this app concepts if you need to use tilt brushes. Let me switch over to the dynamic pen brush, which is only affected by pressure sensitivity. So same thing, I'm going to draw the umbrella. And this is again me holding the pen at my usual angle, and you can see now the line art is better compared to this. Let me show you a drawing that I have drawn with the tilt brush. Let me disable the colors. So for this drawing, I have to consciously make an effort to hold the pen as vertically as I possibly can to avoid random thick strokes like this and like this and like this and here as well. So if you have to constantly make the effort to hold the pen vertically, it is quite unnatural. So let me do a very quick sketch using the tilt brush on the Samsung tablet versus the Lenovo tablet. I actually use tilt brushes quite often, especially with the Concepts app. So with the Samsung S Pen, I can get the lines to come out the way I expect them to appear. The performance is quite predictable, which is actually what you want with a pen. I can tilt the brush to get the broad strokes like this. For example, let's have a broad stroke here and a broad stroke here. Okay, I need to enable palm rejection with Infinite Painter on the Lenovo tablet. Let's just draw the same thing using the same brush. And I can already see the problem as I put down the first stroke. I wanted the lines to be thin, but you can see they came out quite thick. I need the pupil to be like smaller. So again, for this app, I have to see, I wanted the line to be smooth, but here tilt activated. Yeah, so it's difficult to see tilt activated again, even though activated again. Yeah, I wanted the line to be thin, but it's quite challenging to draw with this. Yeah, with this, when tilt, it's quite challenging to draw when tilt is not working properly. Yeah, you can see that it's very difficult. It is very difficult when. Yeah, this is very difficult. Let me switch over to the manga inker brush, which is not affected by tilt. So for the manga inker brush, performance is just like more predictable because you don't have the random tilt activation. So for drawing, this actually works fine. Pressure works fine. Now with this app, Infinite Painter, you can actually adjust the pressure curve of the pen, so you can actually get the pressure sensitivity to work better than what you saw earlier with MediaTek Paint. So this actually works fine. And this is tilt sensitivity with Krita, and the cursor is able to follow the direction of the pen. So I can draw something like this. I can have broad strokes like this, or thin, broad. Tilt works fine with Krita. Right, I'm done with the line test. So let's talk more about the drawing experience. Because this pen has the tendency to draw thicker lines, it would be good to use a drawing app where you can customize the pen pressure, such as Clip Studio, Krita, Infinite Painter. But as you saw earlier, there were some issues with the tilt not working with Infinite Painter. So if you rely on tilt brushes, then there are some apps that just won't work well with this pen. So I guess the best drawing app to use with this tablet and the pen would probably be Clip Studio. MediaTek actually works fine because this app does not support tilt brushes. You can still use concepts as long as you don't use tilt brushes, and that applies to Infinite Painter as well. For drawing purposes, I highly recommend you get a tablet stand that can let you adjust the angle of the tablet. Now with this tablet, you get a 12.7-inch display to work with, and this is big for drawing. So you can use drawing apps that have many user interface elements such as palettes on the right, on the left, and you can keep the palettes on the display all the time and still get a good amount of canvas space to work with. This is how big the tablet is when compared to an A5 size sketchbook. So the display is noticeably bigger compared to this. And this is how big the tablet is compared to A4 size paper. So this is slightly smaller than A4 paper. So this is big for drawing. So this is mostly going to be a tabletop tablet. And now let's draw something very quickly using my usual urban sketching style. So I'm going to place some drafting lines. This tablet, I would say, is actually quite good for sketching. For drawing, I think it works fine. I don't actually have many major issues except for the tilt sensitivity not working as well. And unfortunately, I like to use tilt brushes, so not having tilt working that well is a bummer. Now the glass surface is, I would say, quite smooth, but it's not too slippery, thankfully. So this 59 pixel brush is kind of thick, and there's no way to adjust the pressure sensitivity with this app. So I mean the pressure curve with this app. So if I want to draw with thinner lines, it would mean I have to manually adjust the brush size to get the thinner lines like I just did. The side button is not the eraser, so I have to manually switch from pen to eraser. Let me switch back to the pen. Yeah. So now that I have selected the thinner line, I can actually draw thinner lines. Yeah. With other tablets that have better pressure support, you can actually just choose a thick brush and use that same thick brush to draw thin and thick lines. So that is actually very convenient. There are no issues with palm rejection, so palm rejection actually works really well. And even though earlier I said there is some diagonal line wobble, I don't really see that while drawing. Pressure actually works fine. It's just that to get the best performance, it's best to use a drawing app that lets you adjust the pressure curve. So if your pen is sensitive, you can actually just press down hard to get the broad strokes to fill in the colors quite easily, and then reduce pressure to color into the tiny areas. But if your pen is not that sensitive, you have to find workarounds. But this pen is not too bad. So while drawing the leaves here, I am actually applying minimal pressure so I can get the thin lines out very easily. So initial activation force for this pen is actually pretty good. As I draw the top roofs, I can see the line chasing the pen tip, so there is latency, but it's not really an issue. If you want to buy a screen protector for this display, whether it's glass, plastic, or a matte screen protector, you can look for screen protectors made for the Lenovo MediaTek Pro, obviously. Or you can look for Xiaoxin Pad Pro 12.7 2025 or Moto Pad 60 Pro. these are all the same tablets with the same display size. Let me rename this layer. Let's call it house. And it's time to color this. So I'm going to color this really quickly using this fill brush. I must say that I'm not very particular about coloring within the shapes. This sketch is almost done. Alright, done. So this is how the sketch looks. I think it looks okay. I did not experience any major issues while drawing this. Workflow is smooth. And since I'm not using any tilt brush, I did not have to experience any tilt issues. So I can get thin and thick lines going. So for this app, MediaTek Paint, it would be good to choose a thinner brush and then make the conscious effort to press down harder to get the thick lines. Because I realized that for this particular pen, if I just draw as per normal, most of the lines will appear to have uniform thickness. This was drawn with concepts, and I used a pencil brush which is affected by tilt, so you can see some of the line art some parts of the line art have the random tilt effect here. Yeah, sometimes the random tilt effect actually will work in your favor, but sometimes they don't. Battery life of this tablet is 10,200 milliamp hours, and I'm able to get around 9 to 13 hours of battery life, depending on the brightness of the display and also what I'm doing on or with the tablet. And this tablet has quite a number of battery charging features. For example, here you can set the battery to maintain the level at 40 to 60%. You can have the battery charge depending on how you use the tablet. You can set a maximum charge of 80%. And there is overcharge protection. So if the tablet has low battery and has not been used for a long time, the tablet will switch off to protect the battery. Charging speed is quite fast. So now it says it's 16% and it needs another 1 hour and 16 minutes to charge to 100%. So you can get to around 90% charge with 1.5 hours of charging. All right, to conclude, this tablet, the Lenovo IdeaTab Pro, provides terrific value for money. So for the price you pay, you get really good hardware. The display is bright, beautiful, vibrant, and sharp. The audio quality is awesome. Overall performance of the tablet is smooth and lag-free. The pen and the keyboard works well. For the pen, this is great for taking notes. For drawing, there are some issues with tilt sensitivity, but it's not really a deal breaker unless your main drawing brushes are tilt brushes. Diagonal line wobble is not really an issue. There is an issue with the pen pressure, which is the tendency to draw thicker lines, but you just have to reduce the brush width and that's it. So this is a really good tablet, and if you guys have intention to buy this, consider using the affiliate links that I have for you in the video description below to support my YouTube channel and the work that I do here. Thanks for watching. I hope this review is useful. See you guys again. Bye.